that are being delivered over those. But having said that, I mean, it's still not happening anywhere else, and we saw an announcement by Google last week, or the week before, saying that they were looking for partners to roll out fibre to the premises in the United States, and that's an acknowledgement that it isn't happening otherwise. I mean, Google needed it to happen. They want to deliver all those apps. They want to, serve their customers, and it's not happening because the fibre isn't happening in the US. So Google announced they were going to be looking for partnerships in cities and communities and so on to roll things out and make that happen. And that's interesting in itself that they should actually make that announcement at all. There's various ways of doing fibre, and we've looked at wavelength division passive optical networks, which give different wavelengths to different people and or different premises and so on, which look quite interesting. And the technology for the cost of this is coming down quite rapidly, and that's even before somebody starts ordering 1 million pieces of anything. But it may not be future-proof, and so on. And point-to-point fibre is probably the only way in which to actually get real future-proof connectivity. Because it's difficult to get from where we are now to where we want to be, there's a number of chicken and eggs sitting in there. I think it's quite important to actually think about what would a fibred place actually look like, what would a fibred nation look like in 10 to 15 years' time, or whenever it's actually happened. And when it's actually happened, it's a bit more obvious to sort of think about what it's like. I mean, let's assume we've got 5 to 80% of the population in that time. We've increased the speed of cellular and wireless systems and so on to cope and fill in some other hotspots and make some other things happen. And we've got a nice system that's low latency, low packet loss, and symmetrical as well as fast, as I said earlier. And if you had that, my contention is that everybody who had any content would want access to it. I mean, why wouldn't you? Right? If you've already got these fibres and they're available to connect up to everybody, why wouldn't everybody with any content at all, including Sky, want to be connected to it? Because at the moment, if you ask Sky what would they want to do, they say, oh, this is, we don't want to do this at all. We've already got a perfectly good system that works over our satellites, and it's, there's no need whatsoever to do this, etc., etc. But it's a chicken and egg situation. Once this is available as a delivery mechanism, there's absolutely no reason why everybody wouldn't want to put their content on it, as well as all the other stuff that we'd expect to get from the web. I said earlier about 160 gig iPod. If you do a cold backup of 160 gig iPod, so that you wanted to actually keep it safe somewhere after you've paid a lot more money, if you've got your 160 gig iPod full of stuff, you've paid a lot more money for the content than you ever paid for the iPod. So if you lose it, right, I mean, you better make sure your backup's working, either at home or somewhere else. But an online backup service would be a good thing, but with a gigabit connection, if you had a gigabit connection, by the time you've taken off the overheads and some other things, it still takes half an hour to do a backup, right, which is not exactly very fast, trying to do something and run out the door, or, something else. So a gigabit isn't as fast as you think it is when you do those things. And the other thing about, I said all the networks were converging into the same sort of space, and they're all looking similar. So the other side of that same coin is, if you've got a fibre network, what's it actually going to deliver, a next generation network? Well, it's going to deliver everything, right? There is nothing that you can't think it would deliver, including, if you look at the bottom item, mobile radio backhaul. So if you think of mobile radio networks that we've previously thought of as being connected up some other way, imagine that you want to put in a large number of picocells or microcells in places. The big issue with that is not the picocell or the microcell, it's the backhaul, because there isn't any backhaul available to it in most places. Now, if you've got ubiquitous fibre everywhere, you can actually put picocells, microcells, whatever else, running on that, and it solves that problem at a stroke, and it solves that problem even if you've got 4G high-speed technologies in those picocells hanging on the end of it. So that's a sales opportunity for somebody with a fibre network that, again, isn't typically talked about. People talk about, how much household income can I get per, whatever, of connecting things up, and I don't think that's really the issue. The issue is, when it becomes ubiquitous like this, you can actually run everything over it. So there's a number of current things going on in the UK. But I have to say they're going quite slowly, and some of them aren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. I know we've got some H2O people here, so apart from Bournemouth, I know they're doing other things and rolling out in other places, and that's a genuine fibre delivery system. But I mean, apart from Ebbsfleet, BT's now gone to fibre to the curb. Of course, we'll come back to that in a minute. The South Yorkshire Digital Region, which started off as spending public money in order to build some of these networks, turns out to actually be fibre to the curb. and they're piggybacking on the BT infrastructure to reuse that, which seems entirely pointless. I mean, why